nobody saw it coming. The moment the Wamba announced Caitlin Clark as both First Team All WNBA and Rookie of the Year, the basketball world was sent into a frenzy, but nobody expected Chennedy Carter to react the way she did. Cameras flashed, social media blew up, and fans everywhere watched in disbelief as Chennedy, one of the league's most passionate and unpredictable stars, went absolutely wild on and off the court. Reports started pouring in within minutes. Teammates said they could hear shouting from inside the locker room. And one bystander claimed Chennedy's water bottle flew across the hallway, narrowly missing a team trainer. But this was just the beginning. As the news spread, Chennedy's frustration only grew louder. Onlookers caught glimpses of her storming out of the team meeting, slamming the door so hard it echoed through the stadium. Even security guards were left shaken, whispering that they'd never seen anything like it in all their years with the league. Twitter and Instagram exploded with videos, memes, and wild theories. Fans split between those defending Chennedy's fiery spirit and those calling for consequences. But what really set the internet ablaze was a leaked video from inside the locker room. In it, Chennedy can be seen pacing back and forth, her voice raised and emotions raw, as she calls out the league, the media, and even her own teammates for what she believes is a massive injustice. "How is this even fair?" she shouts, her voice cracking with anger. "You all know I worked for this, but they just hand it to her because she's the new face." The video instantly went viral, leaving fans and critics alike asking, is this the meltdown that will define Chennedy Carter's career, or just another chapter in the ever-growing drama of the WNBA? The world was still buzzing when the first clips of Chennedy Carter's reaction started circulating. But inside the stadium, the energy was even more chaotic. As soon as Caitlin Clark's name echoed through the speakers, the crowd erupted, half in wild applause, half in shocked gasps. Chennedy sat at the edge of the bench, knuckles white, every muscle tensed like a storm ready to break. Teammates glanced nervously at her, but nobody dared to say a word. Everyone knew how much the honor meant to her, how many hours she had put in, how many times she had played through pain and criticism. But as the applause rolled on, Chennedy's anger became impossible to hide. A fan who managed to sneak backstage caught the first moments of the meltdown. Chennedy stormed into the locker room, tossing her jersey onto the floor and kicking a stray basketball so hard it bounced off the wall and knocked over a stack of towels. "This is a joke," she yelled, voice trembling with fury. "They just want a headline. It's never about who really deserves it." Her best friend on the team tried to calm her down, but Chennedy was having none of it. "Don't tell me to chill. Would you chill if this was you? They always want someone else to shine." As reporters gathered outside the door, waiting for post-game interviews, the tension grew thicker. Inside, a few teammates exchanged anxious looks, unsure whether to speak up or keep their distance. One rookie whispered, "She's going to say something she regrets." Another shook her head, "She's just being real." Someone needs to call out the league. Meanwhile, in the stands, fans were glued to their phones, watching the viral locker room video in real time. Some were shocked, others cheered Chennedy on for speaking her mind. "She's not wrong," tweeted one fan. "The league has their favorites and everyone knows it." Another posted, "This is the meltdown of the year. She's losing it over Clark's hype." Even retired WNBA legends weighed in, some defending Chennedy's passion, others calling for professionalism and respect. But Chennedy wasn't finished. As the press conference started and Caitlin Clark walked in, smiling and waving to the cameras, Chennedy watched from a distance, arms crossed and eyes narrowed. When a reporter asked about her own season and what she thought of Caitlin's awards, Chennedy's answer was blunt. "I think the league picks who they want to pick. I don't play for headlines, play for wins." The room went quiet, the tension crackling. Caitlin, ever diplomatic, simply smiled and said she respected every player in the league. But Chennedy's glare told a different story. The internet, of course, only fanned the flames. One blog ran the headline, "Chennedy Carter goes ballistic after Clark's sweep," while another speculated whether her outburst would lead to a suspension. Video after video popped up, fans imitating Chennedy's rant, others stitching together every emotional moment from her season to show just how much pressure she'd been under. Debates raged. Was this the sign of a player who cared too much, or proof that the league's stars were cracking under media scrutiny? As the night wore on, the drama refused to die down. Chennedy's teammates split into two camps, rallied around her, saying she had every right to be upset, that she'd been overlooked for too long. Others kept their distance, worried the attention would bring even more negativity to a season already marked by controversy. The team's coach held an emergency meeting, reminding everyone to keep their cool and focus on the upcoming playoffs. But behind closed doors, nobody was talking about basketball. Anyone wanted to know was what Chennedy would do next. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark found herself in an awkward spotlight. She told the media she was honored and humbled, but admitted she hadn't spoken to Chennedy since the announcement. "I know it's emotional," she said quietly, "but I just want to play the game and earn respect." Yet even as she tried to stay positive, the whispers followed her down the hallway, fans and critics alike dissecting every smile, every answer, every interaction with her rivals. Outside the arena, fans gathered to discuss what had happened, some in full support of Chennedy, others calling for a league investigation. "If this was the NBA, she'd be fined already," one guy told a reporter. "But maybe the Wamba needs that kind of fire to get noticed." Another fan said, "It's just sports. People get emotional. At least she cares." As dawn approached, Chennedy finally broke her silence on social media. Her post was short but raw. "They'll never know how hard I worked. I play for my team and my city, not for headlines. But I won't be quiet about what's wrong." Within minutes, the post racked up thousands of likes and comments, with fellow players and fans showing support or calling for accountability. The league released a brief statement saying they would review all post-game incidents. But for now, the conversation was out of their control. The city was divided. The league was under pressure, and all eyes were on what Chennedy would do next. Nobody knew whether this would blow over or explode even bigger. But one thing was certain: in a league full of stars, drama like this was impossible to ignore. The league office was buzzing the next morning, phones ringing nonstop as officials scrambled to control the narrative. Executives gathered in emergency meetings, worried that the situation could spiral even further. "We can't have this turn into a circus," one exec muttered, pacing with a phone to his ear. "If the fans think the league is rigged, it'll take years to rebuild trust." Another worried voice suggested issuing a formal warning to Chennedy. But the head of public relations cautioned, "If we silence her now, it's going to look even worse. The world's watching." Meanwhile, the team's group chat was chaos. Messages flew back and forth as players tried to process what had happened. Some, tired of the spotlight, begged everyone to lay low and ignore the drama. Others, still fired up from the night before, sent supportive texts to Chennedy, telling her not to back down. "They can't punish you for speaking the truth," one teammate wrote. "You need anything? I'm here." But there were also rumors that a few players had privately messaged Caitlin, apologizing for the way things had unfolded and promising her things would calm down soon. The divide within the locker room grew deeper as practice resumed. Chennedy showed up early, headphones on, avoiding eye contact with the coaches and most of her teammates. The energy was tense. Coaches tried to keep things normal, running drills and reviewing plays, but everyone felt the shift. Nobody was sure how to act should they pretend nothing had happened or address the elephant in the room. At the same time, Caitlin Clark's schedule was packed with interviews and media requests. Every outlet wanted her side of the story, hoping for a soundbite that would go viral. "Did you see Chennedy's reaction?" one reporter asked. Caitlin nodded, careful with her words. Emotions run high in this league. We're all competitors, and everyone wants to win. I respect Chennedy as a player, and I know how much this means to her. Some applauded her grace under pressure, but others accused her of dodging the real questions. Fans debated whether Caitlin was being humble or just keeping her distance to avoid more controversy. Outside of basketball, the story spilled over into pop culture. Late-night hosts joked about the drama, calling it the OneBuzz biggest reality show moment. Twitter was flooded with memes of Chennedy's tantrum, some sympathetic, others mocking. A viral TikTok edit showed her throwing her water bottle in slow motion, paired with dramatic music. But for every joke, there was someone pushing back. It's easy to laugh when you're not the one being overlooked, one user posted, sparking a new wave of arguments about respect, bias, and who really gets recognition in women's sports. The controversy brought out the voices of WNBA veterans, with some stepping in to support Chennedy's outspokenness. She's passionate, and that's what makes her great. One former MVP said on a sports talk show, "Sometimes the league needs a wake-up call. Sometimes the system needs to be questioned." Another legend, however, urged Chennedy to remember her influence. Young players are watching. You can be real without losing control. The debate played out across talk shows, podcasts, and every social media platform, with fans taking sides. Behind closed doors, Chennedy's family felt the impact too. Her mother called her, voice trembling, to ask if she was okay. "I know you're hurt, but don't let them turn you into the villain," she whispered. Her younger brother, a high school player himself, posted on his Instagram, "Big sis always keeps it real. They'll never know how hard you grind." These messages brought Chennedy some comfort, but also reminded her of the spotlight and the pressure that now followed her everywhere. In the next game, all eyes were on Chennedy and Caitlin. The arena was sold out, reporters lined the baseline, and cameras zoomed in every time the two were near each other. Chennedy played hard, every basket and steal a message to her critics. Caitlin, cool and collected, ran the offense with precision, never once letting the tension shake her focus. Fans watched their every move, dissecting every glance and exchange. When Caitlin sank a deep three-pointer over Chennedy, the crowd erupted. Chennedy answered right back with a driving layup and an intense stare-down. The rivalry was alive and electric, turning the game into must-see TV. After the game, reporters crowded both stars. Chennedy, still fired up, addressed the media. "I play with heart, and I'm never going to apologize for that," she said. "I just want things to be fair. If speaking out makes people uncomfortable, maybe it's time for the league to look in the mirror." Caitlin took a softer approach, crediting her teammates for her performance and wishing Chennedy the best. "Competition brings out the best in all of us," she said, sidestepping any hint of drama. The league released another statement, promising to address all player concerns with care and respect. But for many fans, the words felt hollow. A movement began online calling for more transparency in voting and recognition. Hashtags like "Let Players Be Real" and "One BEA Deserves Better" started trending, as fans and former athletes shared stories of their own disappointments and victories. As the week went on, the controversy showed no signs of dying down. Brands and sponsors began to weigh in, with some voicing support for Chennedy's passion and others quietly distancing themselves from the uproar. Coaches and executives around the league debated behind closed doors. Was this just a bump in the road or a turning point for women's sports? All the while, Chennedy kept playing, her performances as electrifying as ever. But even as she dominated on the court, it was clear the emotional toll was mounting. She posted another late-night message to her fans. "I appreciate the love and the hate. I know who I am. I just want respect. That's it." Her words struck a chord, resonating with everyone who'd ever felt overlooked or misunderstood. The season rolled on, but the story was far from over. Rumors swirled that league officials were considering new rules for player conduct and awards. Some whispered that a meeting between Chennedy and Caitlin was being arranged in secret one last chance to clear the air before the playoffs began. But with emotions still raw, nobody knew if reconciliation was possible or if the feud would define the rest of the season. The world kept watching, waiting for the next chapter in a story that had become bigger than basketball. And as the stakes grew higher, one question remained. How far would Chennedy Carter go to prove she deserved to be heard? The day of the rumored meeting arrived, and nobody knew what to expect. Outside the practice facility, news vans waited in the early morning haze, their engines idling, ready to broadcast any sign of a breakthrough or a breakdown. Fans gathered with homemade signs, some cheering for Chennedy, others holding up pictures of Caitlin Clark and chanting her name. Inside, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. League officials had arranged for both players to sit down privately, with coaches and mediators present. Chennedy showed up first, still radiating the defiant energy that had made her a fan favorite but also put her at the center of controversy. Caitlin arrived minutes later, expression.com. Her signature poise never wavering even as she walked past a swarm of reporters calling her name. The meeting began in awkward silence. Nobody spoke for a full minute, the weight of everything that had happened hanging heavy over the table. Finally, Chennedy broke the ice. I'm not trying to make it about you," she said, voice softer than anyone had heard in weeks. "I just want things to be fair." Caitlin nodded. "I get it. I know what it's like to feel overlooked. We all do, in our own way. But the league's watching us. Everyone's watching. We can't let them turn us against each other." Conversation was tense, honest, and sometimes painful. Both players aired their frustrations, sharing stories of struggle, sacrifice, and the relentless pressure that came with being the face of a growing league. Caitlin admitted she sometimes felt isolated by her sudden fame. Chennedy revealed the toll it took on her mental health, knowing every move would be picked apart online. As the conversation continued, the room slowly thawed. Coaches listened, as the players hashed out what so many athletes felt but rarely said aloud. "They want us to be rivals because it makes headlines," Chennedy said, shaking her head. "But at the end of the day, we're all just trying to win. Be seen," Caitlin agreed. "Let's show them what real respect looks like. Even if we're competing, it doesn't mean we have to tear each other down." Outside, word leaked that the meeting was happening. Fans online speculated wildly about what was being said. Some hoped for a reconciliation, others predicted more fireworks. Trending topics like Chennedy versus Caitlin and women supporting women fought for space on social feeds. The league's official account tweeted, "Our stars, our voices. Change starts here." The tweet went viral in minutes. After 2 hours, the meeting ended. Both players emerged together, flanked by coaches and league reps. Instead of speaking to reporters, they walked silently to their cars, but not before exchanging a small sign of respect and understanding. The press didn't get a headline-grabbing fight, but fans saw something more important: two competitors willing to confront the system and each other with honesty. The ripple effects were immediate. Other players began speaking out, sharing their own stories of frustration and triumph. Veteran stars called for more transparency and fairness in awards voting, while rookies posted messages about unity and growth. Analysts debated whether this would finally push the league to make long overdue changes. The teams returned to their routines. But the season felt different. Chennedy played with the same fire as always, but her interviews were calmer, more focused. "I said what I had to say. Now it's about basketball." Caitlin, too, kept her head down and let her game do the talking, leading her team through a tough stretch of games and earning respect even from former doubters for fans. The drama had become something bigger than a single outburst. People who had never watched a WNBA game before were suddenly invested, tuning in not just for the rivalry but for the realness and the passion. Social media campaigns pushed the league to invest more in its stars, highlighting the stories behind the stats. Sports shows debated whether this controversy would be remembered as a black eye or a turning point. Behind closed doors, league officials debated new initiatives. Some suggested player forums where stars could air their grievances and help shape league policy. Others floated the idea of player-run panels for award voting to ensure no one was unfairly overlooked. Sponsors who had backed away during the controversy now came forward, offering to support mental health resources and leadership development for athletes. As the playoffs approached, the energy reached a fever pitch. Both Chennedy and Caitlin led their teams deep into the postseason, the hype and anticipation at an all-time high. Their matchups were electric, sold out, and appointment viewing for sports fans everywhere. When they shook hands at center court before the game, the arena erupted not in controversy, but in celebration of two stars who had turned drama into dialogue. After the final buzzer of the season, the cameras found Chennedy and Caitlin embracing at mid-court, both exhausted, both smiling. "Respect," Chennedy said simply. "Always," Caitlin replied. The image went viral, the perfect closing chapter for a saga that had started in chaos and ended in mutual understanding. The season might be over, but the conversation was just beginning. Fans, players, and even the league itself had been changed by what happened. People debated, dissected, and ultimately respected what Chennedy Carter did, whether they agreed with her or not. So after all the drama, the meltdowns, and the emotional confrontations, one thing is clear: this was never just about a trophy or a title. Chennedy Carter's outburst, Caitlin Clark's rise, and the league's struggle to keep up have sparked a conversation way bigger than basketball. Fans are still debating who was right, who was wrong, and whether passion belongs in sports or should be kept behind closed doors. Some say Chennedy should have kept her cool. Others think her fire is exactly what the one bun needs to break through. But one thing everyone agrees on: the game will never be the same. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think Chennedy went too far? Or did she just say what every overlooked athlete is thinking? Did Caitlin deserve the spotlight? Or does the league need to rethink how it rewards its stars? Are rivalries good for the game? Or are they tearing teams apart? Drop your take in the comments, hit like if you want more behind-the-scenes drama, and subscribe for the wildest stories in sports you won't find anywhere else. Your voice matters. Be part of the conversation, and let's keep this debate going. Thanks for watching. Remember, every player has a story, every league has its secrets, and sometimes the biggest moments happen when the cameras stop rolling. Keep it real, keep it respectful, and stay tuned for more jaw-dropping stories only here